And we are live. What's up, everyone? It's Michael here again. We have Kevin Nolan today with Nolan Consulting Group. Kevin, thanks for jumping on with us and sharing some of your knowledge.
Oh, happy to be here. Thanks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So those of you that are new to our webinars, we kind of structure them the same way. Give you a little quick high level of what CompanyCam is. We'll kind of do a quick high level intro of Nolan Consulting Group. And then we've got some great educational content that Kevin is going to share with you. A couple things, as always, we want to try to make these as interactive as possible. So if you want to just go ahead and get acclimated with the chat feature, go ahead and say hey or let us know where you're joining us from, just so you can kind of see where the chat is at. As you're doing that, I will man the questions. Make sure if you have questions, we get those answered for you. So whatever you want to know, that's why we're here, and we'll get those answered. So without further ado, let's just quick high level of what CompanyCam is, a little bit about that. So basically, we'll talk after we get started who Kevin is and what Nolan is, what CompanyCam is, and then obviously the content here for today. So we'll start with the CompanyCam content. While we're doing that, I'm going to throw a poll question out at you so you can kind of see how those work as well. Just seeing who's in the audience today. So who is a CompanyCam user? Yes, no, or no, but want to start. And it looks like we've got a few CompanyCam users in the audience today, which is awesome. We love you guys. Honestly, we love those no, but want to starts as well. So CompanyCam high level, since most of you are CompanyCam users, we were started here in Lincoln, Nebraska, a local roofing company. Basically, they were ahead of the game in terms of knowing that they needed to document their job sites and their processes. The issue with them was when they truly needed that documentation, figuring out where it was at and how am I going to get this over to the person that needs it. So they set out to create a solution for that, and CompanyCam became that solution. So the person that says, no, I'm not a CompanyCam user, but I want to start, CompanyCam.com/webinar is going to be an amazing deal for you. So you're going to want to check that out. Here is what the solution with CompanyCam is, though. It's basically going to get all of the documentation, communication, notes, and most importantly, photos that are taking out on a job automatically organized by location. And so we've removed that need to upload, send, attach, file, any of those things. It's automatic. You're going to know exactly where it was taken, who took it, and when they took it. And again, it's instantly available. So you just get this level of transparency to your job sites in real time. Find kind of the, what's it going to do for my business? What we see is that an increase in employee accountability. Like I said, it gives you that context of what's happening out in the field without actually having to drive job site to job site. And it really just facilitates keeping your teams on track and in sync, makes for that team environment. So that's kind of CompanyCam as a high level. The person in here that said, no, I want to start, we'd love to have you. If you need any other further information, let me know. But with that, Kevin, why don't you kind of give a high level on who you are and your background and Nolan's background, and then we'll jump right into the organizational muscle content here.
Sure, but first let me give an unsolicited commercial for CompanyCam. I'm a huge fan. We were talking yesterday. I'm a huge fan. I've been using it for like 3 or 4 years now, and I've been sneezing and telling everybody about it. I could do a whole seminar on just how we use it and how we use it to communicate with each other. So, but another time. So my name is Kevin Nolan. I'm the president of Nolan Painting, a 150-person residential painting company, all employees just outside the Philadelphia suburbs right there. I'm also partners with my brother Brian in Nolan Consulting Group, and we consult with painting contractors and all sorts of other contractors all across the country and help them, put systems into their business plan. We help them with HR, marketing, pretty much any of the problems that you have running a business. And one of my favorite sayings is, have problems, eat problems for breakfast. So, but today I'm going to talk about how we organize our company. I said I had 150 employees, and we do residential painting. And many of you know, if you've tried to scale a business that big, it requires a lot of structure. and I'm going to be a real fast talker today. Once in a while, Mike, you're going to slow me down when you see I'm talking too fast, but I got a lot of content. The reason why I'm showing these couple of slides here, muscle, we're building muscle, right? We're also looking at the military. My next slide, I got sports and the military in the exact same slide, which is a great slide. The reason why is because a lot of the analogies I'm going to make are the way sports teams are run and the way the military is run. People understand those basic analogies, and I go back and forth as it suits me because they don't actually run the same way, right? But there are some similarities in the way we run our business to sports franchise and to the military. So a couple of things I'm going to talk about, which is extreme ownership, personal accountability, vision, mission, values, strategy, planning, leadership, goals, focus, drama, and culture, and then all that job description stuff that everybody hates to talk about. Let's start with when I talk about extreme ownership, I'm talking about a book that was written by Jocko Willink, a Navy SEAL. I'm also talking about a philosophy of accountability. And I'm talking about another book called QBQ. QBQ, I'd start with that one. It's about 130 pages. Read it yourself, read it again, read it again, read it again. Get others to read it in your organization and develop the accountability language. It is so much easier to run a business when everybody understands accountability and has the same definition. Basically, it's about asking correct questions. QBQ stands for the question before the question. Asking questions that solve problems, not questions that have no answers. Like a bad question would be, why is this happening to me? Why is this employee doing that? Why is this customer giving me a hard time? Those are incorrect questions because they're woe is me questions, they're victim questions, and they don't really have an answer. The only questions that really have an answer are questions that say what or how, have an action, and say I. Basically, what can I do about it? And when you come up with that as a mentality, what can I do about it? And you hire people with the same mentality and you cultivate that language, you have no victims in an organization, and you don't blame. So that's just the underlying network and framework with which we communicate internally. And then following the military format of extreme ownership, it's to be responsible that everything that happens in your world, to never fix blame, rather to seek a solution for problems, to ask yourself where or how can I do better, take ownership instead of blaming others, finding excuses, or even denying that a problem exists, to take responsibility for communication when you have information to share, or here's the important thing, when you need information. There's no such thing as no one told me. You have to basically find information and not be a victim of any of those things. So there I go. I've already talked about it enough. I'm going to move through those slides quickly. Another underlying factor I want to talk about as I go through all this process, because you might think I'm a hard ass, is the Dale Carnegie's golden rules. Never criticize, condemn, and complain. Create in other person an eager want. When I say create in another person an eager want, I mean you have to have them want it more than you do. You can't want something for somebody more than they want it. The fourth one down, begin in a friendly way. Once again, in everything that I do, when I'm giving feedback to an employee, good, bad, it's always in a friendly way. If you're letting someone go, it's in a friendly way. There's no reason why you have to change that as one of your core values. So those are some of Dale Carnegie's golden rules, and they underline the way I run the business as well. Now, we talk about something called cascading leadership, and that's to basically remove the hourglass. If you're running an organization, you have to find out what is restricting the sand through the hourglass. Why is it being restricted? And you have to remove those bottlenecks. And that usually comes with delegating. And people say you can't hire people to do your job, or you can't get people to do a good job. That is absolutely, positively not true. That is head trash. If you can't hire people, you need to look at yourself and ask yourself how you can do better. So you have to basically determine who's a visionary and who's an integrator, how you're going to get things done. That comes from a book called Rocket Fuel from Gino Wickman, another phenomenal book. Traction, also by Gino Wickman. You need to read that. But you have to have clarity, accountability. You have to be focused on year, quarter, month, and week. Here's something that they use in the Army all the time: decentralized command. That means train people and then send them out to make decisions on their own. Basically, they train people in the military in 6 months. They give them a gun and they send them to the other side of the world. Basically, that's called decentralized command. And then you have to have something called cascading communications. That's if I tell a supervisor, I need to be confident that he's going to tell everybody that he's supervisors, and so on and so on and so on. That has to be something that is talked about in the organization and cultivated. I know I'm moving fast here, but once again, I got a lot of content. I'll slow down at some point.
And if you guys, real quick, if you guys do have something that you want him to hone in more on, again, just let us know in the chat and we will definitely make that happen.
Good. I just took a breath. Okay, so we have a process we call the cascading planning process. You know, we're using the cascading as our coined term. And there it is. And basically, this just means it's the structure with how you organize like I said, the weeks, the months, the quarters, and the year by calendar. So all the stuff I'm talking about is structure. And I know entrepreneurs struggle with this stuff. Like they don't want structure. That's why they're entrepreneurs. But I have to tell you that if you want people to work for you, they want structure. That's why they're working for a company and not for themselves. So you have to put structure in place. Why not put the structure that you want in place? And so we build structure that hopefully the entrepreneur can live with and have other people join in and help them implement the various strategies as they go through the course of the year, doing the financial reviews, the weekly on business meetings, and things like that. I'm going to talk about those in a minute. Here's the meeting schedule that I live through in the average week. So now, after all these years, I'm officially a CEO. My only job is the top line and the bottom line and everything in between. So I've got to grow the company. I got to make sure it has a profit, and then I'm responsible with how that is done. I don't have any specific other functions other than to manage all the functions that you see on the screen here. So I have decided that I as an entrepreneur can't just focus on all these things throughout the course of the week. So I've built a meeting structure that we stick to. And incidentally, if I can't make a meeting, we have it anyway, and they just fill me in on what's happening. But in this structure, I have Fridays off. Fridays I do business development. I go out and meet other people I want to meet in the industry, other CEOs. But I have very much a fine set of meetings that happen 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 9:30 on a Monday. There are agendas for each of these meetings. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I could share a particular agenda. The agendas are filled out ahead of time by others. The only meeting I run is the operations meeting and the management huddle pre-ops meeting. So this afternoon, it's a Tuesday, we're going to meet at 4 o'clock, and we're going to have a pre-ops meeting, which I'll run to help me get organized for the operations meeting tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. I have about 35 people in the operations meeting, and I need to do a good job. So I have to have the agenda all worked out ahead of time. So the VP of sales, he has the agenda all figured out ahead of time. He shares it with everybody as a Google Sheet or Google Doc. Same thing with finance, human resources. These are all filled out ahead of time with set information so we can click through our meetings, because nobody likes long meetings. Another thing that we do that provides a lot of transparency is we have a big board in our office. This board is actually from January, so sorry, but it fills out throughout the course of the year with these numbers. These are the numbers that are on the screen that you see now. These would be goals for each of the various teams up here. And when they hit their goal, we fill it in. We measure profit for each month, material. This is all up on a board in our conference room that we can all look at and talk about and obsess over. There's the individual salespeople and all of their individual sales goals, the sales rate, the closing rate. It's all part of the transparency. And on top of that, there is bonuses paid for different people for each of these areas as part of our pay for performance program. For instance, the supervisors get a bonus when the revenue per hour hits a certain number. So this transparency is really what makes the company work. At the end of the day, I tell everybody what the profits were. Now, I take a paycheck that you would pay a CEO. I also get bonuses. I get a bonus when we hit the top line revenue number every month, and I get a bonus when we hit the profit every month. And the bonuses are pretty much, everybody knows about them. But, obviously we don't talk about salaries of individuals, so nobody knows what I'm getting paid. But we do talk about profit, because profit is important for a business to have. And it's important for employees to know that profit does not just directly go to the owner. Profit goes into the business to help the business run. Now, the owner is entitled to take profit as basically he sees fit. In my company, I don't take profit. The only distribution I take every year, since I'm a sole proprietor, is a distribution for taxes, and I pay the taxes that I'm required to pay on the company, which is significant. Other than that, I leave all the profits in the business and take a salary, which I know is strange for a smaller business to understand, but that's the only way you can really run a bigger business, is if you do not take all the profits, because the only way to grow a business is to either reinvest capital, borrow money to grow, or find somebody to give you some money to grow. Other than that, growth is going to be really hard if you're taking all the profits. So there we are again. Now, the other thing you want to do, I think, is as you're building this structure, is you want to make sure that there are some core values that you talk about all the time. One of my jobs is to create the culture in the company, and it's around being the best place to work. Once again, accountability, like I just told you, transparency, like I just showed you, friendly, like I mentioned earlier before, healthy. We are a self-insured company now, self-insured health insurance for the last 2 years. And so, healthy lifestyle has become one of our values. Happiness is a value of mine. I get a chance to put my values in, and community is a value of mine. It's my company. I get to put my values in there, and that's part of the best part of owning a company, is being able to put your values into the company. And then drama. Okay, I don't mean to be conceited, because I'm not being conceited, but it is my job to create the drama. So none of this stuff. Drama is around hitting goals. Drama is around the good things that we're doing every day. It's about customer service. That's the drama that we have. No other drama is tolerated. Silence. I took a little deep breath there, make sure everybody understands that. So I won't tolerate lots of discussions about drama and people being late and this, that, and the other. There are systems and ways to deal with that, and I'm going to talk about some of that coming up. But drama is cut and dry. This might not be for everybody, but this is sort of the way we're looking at our business. We have turnover. We force turnover. We hire people with no experience. We train them how to paint in 90 days, or we force them out. Either they fit into the system, or we force them out in a friendly way. And we thank them for contributing. But we've got some feedback systems. We do a little bit. We force turnover a little bit. We make sure we have training. We do a lot of hiring. Last year, this year, we've hired 130 people, and we've netted 35, which is great, because people are telling me you can't hire people. That's not true. I hired 35 people this year, and they'll be all painters within a year, because that's the system we have designed for them. When we hire someone, the first thing we do is check to see if they are a good behavioral fit. So that 130 people I hired, 135 people, they were not all good behavioral fits. Some of them have a hard time with communication, with showing up on time, with following directions, with quickness to learn, customer service, which just means being friendly. By the way, this is all behavior. This is not skill. So we're not talking skill yet. The first week or two, we're just talking behavior. They have to show me good behavior or they don't make it past the behavior cutoff. First 2 weeks, if you can't show up to work every day for 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks, what are the chances that you're going to be able to do that over the long term? Now, that's not to say somebody couldn't have one day and still, manage to succeed in this. It's just that we have to show that they are, meeting our standards basically for behavior, and that is showing up on time. That's a standard. If they make that, we put them into there's another version of it. I get these on my phone. I get the chance to read them all the time. I get a chance to see how they're all doing. There's the scale I was talking to you about. Apprentice level 1, 90 days. We start you at $15 an hour. If you make it to 90 days, we'll give you $16 an hour. There's 2 raises in the first year, to 16 to 17. 1 year's time, I need you to be a painter. I got you to 18. Within 6 months, I need you to get to painter 2. And there's another raise for you. And then by 2.5, 3 years, I need you to be a master painter. And then I've got a couple more raises. If you're showing any leadership skills, I can put you into the leadership category with job leaders. And then I have job leaders run a job. And then I have crew leaders that run multiple job leaders. So job leader would be like sergeant, and a crew leader would be like a captain, and a field manager would run multiple crew leaders, and they would be like a colonel. Okay, so like squads and platoons and squadrons and things like that, different terminologies of how we make up our team. And now the A1 gets put into a learning path after the first 2 weeks, and this is a self-guided learning path. When he clicks the skills, up comes a learning, which would be a document or a video or a slideshow with the actual textbook intellectual piece. This is all done distance learning. Nobody's coming in to be taught. These people don't want to be taught in a classroom. That's why they are in the construction field. They don't like classrooms. So as a result, we have them learning distance learning, which is using their phone or computer or mobile device. And then their job leader will rate them and give them stars. It's a universal language. The other universal language was smiley faces. This is the universal language of 4 stars is good, 5 stars is best. If you get all 4 stars in these categories and manage a 4.0, you are now promoted to apprentice level 2. And then we have that's now apprentice level 2. You're learning how to paint walls, you're learning how to paint trim, you're learning how to paint doors. As you can see, this can be tailored for almost any trade that can be broken down into components and learnings. And each of these components has a training on it, and then it's done in the field and scored in the field. Every Thursday, I meet with a different field manager or colonel, and we go through his whole team, and we make sure that everybody is getting up to date, and we force promotions, and we force turnovers. So if somebody's not working out, I'm forcing them. I'm forcing them to either move up or move out, and I'm doing it in a friendly way. So there's more learning paths. We have them for painters as well. Obviously, we're stepping up the trainings. We're starting to include fall protection and spraying and things like that. So you can see we've got a lot of structure built around here. We've got
Kevin, real quick, I think this is a good spot for this question, but Luke asked, what software are you tracking all of this in, with the progression through your different levels of certifications and such?
Yeah, I'm using a really easy program called Smart Sheets, and it's very much like Google Sheets or Excel. except for it has a lot of report out functions that you can report out. And it seems to be way more versatile, cloud-based, obviously. So look at Smart Sheets. It's a tremendous program. We keep finding more and more uses for it. Basically, it's a platform of how we run our whole company. We also, we have jobs attached to it. We track hours in it. Phenomenal program. So here we have individuals get certified by a superior in ladders. Nobody gets up on a ladder until they've been trained and certified out in the field. Nobody hops on a roof until they've been fall arrest certified and have been trained and how to install a hitch clip, which is a secure mounting device. We're probably only a residential contractor in the country that is routinely installing fall arrest protection on every job we do, even on simple roofs. We own a couple of high reaches and we rent a couple more. You got to be certified in that. There are certain safety requirements, obviously lead. So we can track here. Once again, this is all in Smart Sheets. We can keep track of where people are in it. And I have administrative people that follow up. I do have an HR team that I'm about to describe here. So there I am at the top. I have a VP of sales. I have 6 estimators. I have a CFO. I have a director of human resources and someone that reports to them, a bookkeeper. I have people that manage customers when we get them. I have people that take incoming phone calls, and then I have somebody that manages resources. Over here on the right side of your screen is VP of operations. So they would be like generals, and below that, next slide will be the whole field. Our field is made up by geography and by team names. We do not name the team after the crew leader. We don't say it's Bill's team. Instead, Bill's team has a name. It's called the Paint Pros. Then there's the Elite team, the Bolts, the Thunder, the Whiz Kids. There's a few more teams that have been added since this slide. We have one called Paint to Town, one called G-Force. I have a new team starting in January. Each team below it has a bunch of crew leaders. And this has actually grown since this slide. We've added more crew leaders. Once again, we're constantly promoting people. I'll talk more about that in a minute. And then below that, these are all the squad leaders. These are like the sergeants below that at the bottom. And they all have names like Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Golf. So each of these teams basically run with direct operations. We have logos for the teams. This is the management team right there in the center. The offices have team names and logos as well. We put these on our cars, on our notebooks. We put them on our doors. Now, these are the actual field teams. These are on the trucks, on the sprayers, on the ladders. I have decals. Each team in a perfect world will have 35 people. Right now, our teams have between 20 and 30 people. Like I said, I have a couple smaller teams that are still developing with 10 and 15 people. But we figure we can max at 35 people per team. And each will be broken down. These are the crew leaders. They all have, crew leaders are animals, predator animals. I guess a seal is a predator animal, and I guess a woodchuck is too, I don't know. And then these are the squads. Squads are 3 or 4 people. So one of the things in the Navy SEAL world is they never have more than 5 or 6 people reporting to them. And that's important because when I told you that each team can have 35 people, nobody can manage 35 people. You can only manage 5 or 6 people really well. Don't get me wrong. People manage more people. But to manage more than 5 or 6 people well, you start to spread yourself thin. So 5 or 6 people will manage 5 or 6 people will manage 5 or 6 people. And then, that's how we're building groups of 35. That way, nobody is responsible filling out those forms for all 35 people, but they're delegating down through cascading communication. Once again, I call myself the commissioner of the league. I let them all pick the logos and the names from a list I gave them. The logos they picked themselves. A couple of them I had to veto. A couple of them I kept for fun. That's the guy, Dan Ross. I think that's the painter up there on the right. We also have some other teams in our organization. I guess I'm showing this slide to just talk about the visualization of logos. So when we talk about teams, let's go back again. So people get teams, they're loyal to their team. And just like in the Army, you're loyal to your team. But you're also loyal to the United States of America. And in this case, that'll be Nolan Painting. You're loyal to the main team, which is Nolan Painting. And everybody understands that they have to be loyal to the team. Okay, back up again to slides. Oh, wow, you're thinking, what's up with all these different logos? How people keep track of it all? Okay, sports analogy. Just about every single able-bodied male in my company could name most of the NFL football teams and put them in the proper division. And if you got groups of 4 or 5 of them, they could definitely put every team in their own division. So this is not beyond the intellectual capabilities of these folks. It's just a matter of what they care about. And the most important team that they are on are the teams that they belong to at work. They are. It determines their whole future. It determines how much money they're going to make. It determines what benefits they get. I have to convey to them that this is the most important team that you could possibly be on. So we're constantly pushing the agenda with that. I want to share, as I go through the last number of slides here, what is another concept that I need you to understand. Okay, it's a concept of time span, and it's the ability to work unsupervised into the future. So a private first class, they can't work too far into the future. They're generally living paycheck to paycheck. They generally are good at doing what they're told. Occasionally you can see some glimpses where they may show the ability to think ahead. They may be your next sergeants. They may be your next captains, or they may be your next colonels. But for the time being, let's not put people into positions that they're not capable of being successful in. So we want to make sure that they understand that they have responsibility to a job, the capabilities and their capacity to handle it at scale. So we don't give raises and bonuses and promotions to people because they want them. We give them to them because they are performing already at the high level. So the best way to get a raise is to give a raise in your performance, not the other way around. We do not give raises and then expect raises in performance. We need to see the raise in performance, and then we'll give the raise. So there's the time span of level 1, private. And these are arbitrary. I made these up. I'm just making the analogy. But a captain can think ahead. They can plan ahead. They can understand goals. They can understand their company goals and what they may do today that could affect the outcome days, weeks, or months in the future. One of the questions you might ask somebody when you're interviewing somebody to find out what their capacity is ask them questions into the future. Ask them if they have a vacation planned. Privates don't plan vacations. They just take them when they run out of work. But captains plan vacations. They actually get a house down at the shore or a house in the mountains in the summer, things like that. The other thing you can do when you're interviewing somebody to see where they fit is ask them how they have dealt with specific situations around leadership. Do not ask them about hypotheticals. Don't say, tell me what you would do if an employee was showing up late. Ask them what they have done when they had an employee that was habitually late. How about, don't tell me what you would do if you had an irate customer. Tell me what you did when you had an irate customer. And I want to know names and details and time frames, because that's how you're going to find out where they fit in this interviewing process, where they fit in this strata. And by all means, you yourself as a leader in the company, as the In many cases, the owner, the president, the CEO should be looking to plan ahead with horizons of your business, 1, 2, 5 years out, what you need to get there, what's going to take equipment-wise, manpower-wise, resources-wise, and you need to get them. So you can develop these skills, but they don't just happen without intense development and understanding of what they really are all about. Because otherwise, if you promote somebody to an area where they are, you're hopeful, they're good, in my world, they're a good painter, so we think they could be a good job leader, or they're a good job leader, so we think they could be a good crew leader, and then we find out that they start dropping balls, and they really don't have the organizational skills, or they really don't have the planning skills, or they really don't have the communication skills, and then we have to decide what to do with the employee, and we may have to demote them or terminate them. And that's a bad ending to an employee who may have otherwise been really capable in the original position that they were in, but then you just promoted them to a position where they're now going to fail. So the answer to that is put them in the position, let them try it out, trial by fire. If they succeed for a few weeks and months, then you give them the promotion, and you'll have a much higher degree of success. So somebody is promoted when they can do all the functions of a painter, not just some of them, all the functions of a job leader or a crew leader. That's when they're promoted, not just some of the functions, all of them. And they have to be extremely proficient. Obviously, you have to take care of all these things as well. You have to take care of good wages. We just talked about a lot of proactive raises and promotions. Listen, if you find good people, pay them. Separate the good from the average by paying them a lot more money than you probably are thinking. You have to be really generous to good people. Otherwise, they're going to leave. So I've been able to bring along people. I've been able to say to a supervisor, you stick with me and I'm going to get you $100,000 a year in the next couple of years. And then I've been able to do that. And when you do that, you've created a long-term loyalty that is going to last, and you're going to not have to worry about that employee as long as they've done the job. But then you recognized it. So don't go cheap on them when they do the job. Be really generous when you see the good stuff. And when they're not doing it, you're going to have to make the changes, the tough stuff. But make sure you're a great boss. And then as I wrap it, I know there's some questions here, but build on a culture of extreme ownership from top to bottom. Recognize the time span. That's the ability for people to work unsupervised into the future. Do not be hopeful, only go for reality. What are they able to do? Not I hope they can do. And if you do it right, you get tremendous satisfaction and you get out of the hourglass. Boom. There we go. 40
awesome.
minutes.
Yeah, no, that's great content. I'll start off the questions. I have two that kind of came to mind throughout that. Number one, I get the impression that you try to hire green beans when you're hiring painters. You're not looking for, experience per se. How much is that? Do you have mostly no experience? Obviously, if the right person comes on, are you considering people with experience?
Well, so I've been at it for a long time. I guess I didn't mention in the beginning, I've been doing this for 40 years. Yeah, no kidding. I started when I was 2. No, I started when I was 19 years old, 40-something years ago. And I did get some painters along the way, but mostly I grew people. And it's really the only way. They're just, my painters will say, get me a painter. No more of these apprentices. And I'd be like, I'll give them a look like, are you kidding me? What do you think that they exist? They don't exist. There are not that many painters out there that come walking in my door. And if they do, they've probably got baggage. That's not saying they all do. I've gotten some good painters that have walked in my door because they hear it's a better place over here. But no, to your point, mostly I'm hiring attitude and I'm training skill. And I have a friend who has a HVAC company, And I know that he's always crying about people, but I got news for you. It's the same thing. Same thing applies. You need to hire attitude and train skill. Nobody else is training the skill for you. You need to be the ones that are making sure that it's happening. So yeah, I have 35 people that we hired this year that will be painters over the winter. And when I start out in the spring, I'm going to have 35 more painters than I had last year. That is awesome, because it only takes a year in my world.
That is awesome. And then my other question was, and I think I know the answer, but just for some clarity, you talked about, paying your guys, and it seems like you have a really good system in place for when they're going to get raises and what those raises are. Is that something you're pretty open with them about, so that they have a pretty good idea of when those raises are coming, or how do you handle that piece of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So we meet every Friday. I meet with a different team leader, a different field manager, and we review his whole team. And we go, I have their faces, because when you have 150 people, it's hard to keep track of faces, and when you have turnover, who's who, and but I'm trying. I'm always trying to get names and faces. I gotta be, it's my job. So I'm shuffling talent, right? So I'm meeting with them. I'm going through their learning paths. That was those STAR system. I'm seeing where they are. So-and-so is close. I say, hey, get him some training on the following items, and then we'll promote him. I'll follow back up with you in a week. Let me know that you got the training, and we'll promote him. So we're pushing the promotions. And yes, it's very, very transparent. I talk about that whole 15 to 16 to 17 to 18 to 19 to $20 an hour. I talk about that all the time, because I want people to be on that train and knowing when, and have expectations that if they do their job, we'll do ours, which is to get them the money. And then I didn't talk about the pay for performance system, but I have a really aggressive pay for performance system that makes up about 20% of everybody's pay. It's not a guarantee, but it's if they hit numbers. And so that's not discretionary. They hit numbers, they get bonuses. So that's all very transparent. And when done correctly, the business starts to run like clockwork and less like chance. So anyway, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Here's a question from Artie. Are your employees compensated for referrals for both new work or add-ons, and also the hiring process?
So great question. So believe it or not, new work and add-ons only during our slow season. So we'll actually start having contests January through in March sometime, and we'll have contests and bonuses for new work, 10% bonuses divided up among the team. And we also, the other question was referrals. Yeah, we have a referral. If you refer someone to the company and they make it past that 2-week behavioral smiley face green book, we call that a green book. They make it to the green book. They get the referral gets $250. If they make it to 90 days, they get another $250, and it's very effective. We have signs all over the building. Many people know, and we get lots and lots of referrals. So we get people to refer 3 or 4 people a year. That's a couple $1,000 a year. So yes.
Absolutely. So guys, if you have more questions, obviously Kevin's a book of knowledge here. If you have those, definitely get those over to us. I'm going to actually, here's my contact information. So if you want to take just a quick mental note of that, jot those down. I can definitely help get any questions answered. And then let me back up here to the first slide, and so we get them your contact information, Kevin. If you guys don't have any more questions, Kevin, absolutely appreciate you jumping on with us today. Outstanding content, and obviously to get to to scale a company to your size, you have to have these processes in place, and that's makes you the perfect person to come on and tell people about this. So I appreciate you. There's Kevin's information down there. If you guys do have any questions, reach out to either one of us. And let's see here.
Yeah, I'm happy to take your questions. And anything we talked about today.
Yeah. Luke was curious how long you've been following Jocko.
I read the book 3 years ago, and it blew my mind. And I implemented all these new systems all around it. I was trying to scale from 100 to 300 employees, and I literally decided to copy the military format, break up the teams. Those teams, there's pictures I showed you. Those logos are about 2.5 years old, yeah. So ever since then, I've been following them. It's a great book. Awesome stories.
Absolutely. Well, it looks like that's all the questions we have for now. But again, reach out to Kevin or myself if you have further questions. Again, we appreciate you guys jumping on with us. Those of you on today, I can tell you we do have another webinar Wednesday. So usually we don't do 2 in a week, but we just had, with the holidays coming up, we had 2 great opportunities. So we are going to be joined Thursday by Stan Bastick with Atlas. And he is going to go in depth on creating your brand. And I can promise you it will be the best 60 minutes you can spend on creating the brand for your company. Stan's passionate about it and just really good. So join us again Thursday. We will have that webinar. You can hit me up if you have any questions for registration. And we appreciate you guys jumping on with us.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Kevin.
You bet.